Well, well, well. It appears we meet again. How the heck are you guys doing? It's been a long time. Let's jump in. I got 1,000 questions to answer. No time for any funny business, any monkey business. We're just going to skip the comedic portion of the show and Hey gang, how we doing? Sean from The Good Dog. Been a long time since we rock and rolled. Another little Led Zeppelin. All you old peeps out there would be like, yeah, Zeppelin! All you young folks would be like, what's he talking about? Guys, it's good to be back. Been gone for, I want to say, what do we miss? 2 shows? 3 shows? Something like that? And we almost never miss any shows, so it's been unfortunate. But the good news is it's been unfortunate for a fortunate reason, and that's been because we've been out of town. So Jeff and I have been on the great UK expedition, as most of you guys know who have followed us. There was a whole lot of heat, a whole lot of hassle, a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot of monkey business going down, pushback about us going there, threats of violence and this and that. None of it ever surfaced. We didn't see anything. Everybody was super cool. All the nasty, angry, pitchfork in hand folks, they must have had something else to do. It must have been bingo night or checkers night or who knows what, but they didn't make it down to come hassle us. So that was good news, and everybody that we did hang out, meet, spend time with, just so much hospitality, so much warmth, so much great hang time with so many great folks that it was just a very, very special trip. So super excited that I got to go along with Jeff, that he invited me, and that we actually we had a pretty good time as travel buddies. We travel pretty well together. Although we might seem like an odd couple, we have a very simpatico thing that just kind of works for us. And you wouldn't think so maybe from the outside, but it really works nice, except for the snoring. Jeff, we gotta do something about it. So I earplugged it. We ended up sharing rooms in a couple of spots because there was a princess bed issue, which Jeff claimed because he thought I was going to take it. It's a long story. I don't want to go into it, but I think there was a bit of instant karma. Jeff, we were going through Roddy. Thank you so much, Roddy, for the hospitality and making everything happen and allowing me to avoid the chippy. But we went through Roddy's house and we were looking at, there are 2 different rooms to pick from. And walked into the first room, and it was the girls' room. It was all decorated like super girly, and I was like, I'm fine in here. I'll take this. This will be great. And Jeff, seeing that I was so eager to take it, was like, no, I'll take it. I'll take it. You take the other room. Like he was doing me a kindness, doing me a service. And so I took the other room. It was fine. Excuse me. And it's like a fold-out futon kind of couch kind of thing. And it was perfectly fine. What happens the next morning? Jeff comes crawling in with a totally different demeanor. Instead of the Gelman that you guys all know, blah, 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 blah. He came in and he was like, hey, how you doing? You sleep okay? And oh yeah, my back. Oh yeah, I'm really struggling here, and launched into this whole kind of sympathy parade, if you will, about how bad the bed was and that it was killing his back, and that he proceeded to demonstrate with a bunch of stretches in front of me and so on and so forth. Completely unnecessary. I didn't need the stretches and the sweet talk, and I did enjoy the instant karma. But from that night on, Jeff roomed with me in a very small room, and then proceeded to just snore like a freaking banshee, like Jeff is known to do. And so I earplugged it up, and even with the earplugs, it's like it's hit or miss whether you can like beat Jeff to sleep, because no one can beat Jeff to sleep. And of course he's like sleeping with his iPad on and his phone in his hand, and he's anyways, I digress tremendously. So really fun time, really great adventures. Jeff was awesome. Snoring aside, we had a great time. We saw some awesome special stuff in Scotland. The seminar went great. Then we drove down to our good friend Julie West's place, and she took incredible care of us, fed us like pigs. That's where all that homemade shortbread went down. Went to some slammin' Indian food outside of her town, and then and did some one-on-ones in that hood, and then headed down to right outside of London, and then we did a huge big 2-day seminar down there. That was the one that was catching all the heat, that they said wouldn't happen, and not in our county, not in our country, and all of this, like even a moveon.org, if you believe it, like they keep me and Jeff out. And the seminar was great, and it was sold out, and it was fabulous, and all that stuff, and nobody showed up to protest it. Best news, pub down the street, best Indian food of my life. Best Indian food of my life. I had it every single meal, and a couple days, twice a day, to the point where they were like, extra spicy? I'm like, yes sir. And we just had it down, we had our groove. And so anyways, that might have been the highlight of my trip. Perfect, amazing, life-changing Indian food. Well, okay, and then Steve Ferroni, very famous drummer, happened to be sitting across the table from me. Some of you might have seen the post. Steve Ferroni's played on a million zillion hits. I mean, literally a million zillion. Started with the Average White Band back in like the 70s, and then has played on everybody's, was in Eric Clapton's band for a gazillion years. Now he's with Tom Petty, but between that, he's only done like a million hits. And he happened to be sitting there, and I said, hi to him, and he was super kind and super cool, super sweet, and even gave me his phone number. I was like, I don't even give my phone number out. I was like, man, that's crazy. So he's one of my heroes, and he was super sweet, super amazing to meet, and not to meet, but to meet. And he spent about 15 minutes just chewing the fat, and made that a really special occasion. So that was really cool. Good news is there's a real shift happening. Things are starting to move in the UK and elsewhere, but the whole balanced training movement is really starting to gain some traction. Me and Jeff met with the Scottish government, Scottish Parliament, and whatever it is, to talk about, I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm not sure exactly which division we were meeting with, but yeah, we sat down and talked e-collar stuff, and gave them our inside kind of scoop and insights. And they were they're very pro e-collar. They're not looking to ban them at all. Not looking to get rid of them. So Scotland is cool, which I'm sure is going to piss a lot of the folks off that want to get rid of that. But it was a very productive meeting, and we were super honored to be asked to be there and give our 2 cents. So that was really cool. And then, talking about the shift, just the fact that so many people showed up and were looking for help with new tools, with new approaches, because they've been struggling. They've gone through all sorts of other trainers, and veterinary behaviorists, and pure positive force-free folks, and treat-only trainers, and just being stuck, And so the whole mission of this trip, which is why you haven't seen me in a while, but the whole mission was really a super important one. And that mission is to keep moving this movement forward. And they really needed somebody over there to kind of like blaze a little bit of a trail and give some folks a little bit of a nudge, a little bit of a push for some of the other trainers that live there, the indigenous peeps, to start pushing, because it's got to come from them. So felt pretty important, pretty special. We were really honored to be there and to be able to share our message and our approach. Work with a ton of great people and a ton of great dogs, so fabulous stuff. Still fighting jet lag, as you guys have seen. I'm probably look tired right now, but it's like been the worst, and I've flown a ton especially back when I was touring, but I just can't shake this one, so I'm like up at 1 or 2 or 3, but getting a lot done, right? It's quiet, you can get a lot done. Let's see. The only other funny story that I'd like to share from the UK thing, I know this is going long, this intro, but we were flying not first class, but just, and it wasn't, it's like accelerated business class, something like really nice on British Airways on the way over, and we had sleeper pods and everything, which I'd never been in, so that was a very incredible experience, especially for someone whose ankles tend to get swollen on long flights, and I was already on my 3rd or 4th flight by that point, because I had to come from LA to Charlotte to Providence to Boston to, you get it. But as we sat down and got all settled in and we're feeling super fancy about, hey, look at us, we're, in the fancy pants part of the airplane. Of course, there's a fancier pants part farther ahead, or on the 2nd floor. But for us, it was pretty fancy pants. Not 30 seconds goes by. The steward comes up, really sweet guy, really nice, got a tray full of orange juice and water. And Jeff says, I'll take the orange juice. And the guy literally missed and spilled the entire thing all over Jeff within the first 30 seconds of sitting down in like his very expensive seat that he was very excited about. It went all over him, all over his pants, all over his seat, all over the, they tried to put a blanket, and orange juice sticky, and I felt so bad for him. Not bad enough to switch seats, but pretty bad. So that was a funny story. Jeff hassled that guy for the rest of the trip, and as you can imagine, and so they took very good care of him after that, but he was one soggy dude. And then the last thing is just thanks all you guys for the massive support for the book. The book has been selling like hotcakes. The paperback, the big physical copy, the digitals are going like hotcakes, and the audiobook, which was just released, everybody's like really, really, really enjoying it, like I had hoped they would, because the audiobook's really special and added some extra stuff and had some more fun with it, and it's very, very intimate. So getting some great feedback on that. So I'm just, it's been a pretty damn cool couple of weeks. I can't really complain. Only challenges where we had some fires in the area while I was gone, so nothing like being in the UK and hearing that there's fires in the neighborhood. Everything was safe and everything was fine, and we had plans in place if anything went down. But you don't want to be in Scotland in the middle of the night and getting texts that there's a fire down the street. Right. Anyways, so that is that. But let's just jump into the show and see how we roll. I know, I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to be a little rusty. And the intro, which I never get anyway, so we'll just let it go and just let it be whatever it's going to be. So, guys ready? Shake it out, buddy. Shake it out. Hey everybody, it's Sean from The Good Dog, and what do I usually say? Well, usually I say to the left of me is lovely Laura Morgan, but she's obviously not here, so we'll bypass that. Laura is on baby duty, and so it's just me. All the stuff you can't see here, because there's nothing here except for me, all the dogs in the other room, because they're all panting because of the heat. Makes up The Good Dog's Q&A Saturday episode. I put episode 40. Me thinks that might be wrong. Let's add a 1 there. Episode 140. I did it one-handed. That's kind of like a new thing. Anyways, guys, ready to jump into the show? I know that was a long intro, but hopefully there was something mildly entertaining. Okay, let's jump in. Okay, gang, so this is gonna be a humdinger of a show. I got something like 110, 120 questions between Facebook, the Good Dog page, Facebook Sean O'Shea page, and Instagram. Unfortunately, Instagram, I don't have a device that I can look at right now, so I'm sorry, I'll have to get back to you guys at another time, so my apologies. But so instead of 5 questions like I typically do, I'm gonna try and burn ass through actually 10, but then there's a bonus question. If I'm not like totally dragging my feet, then we'll hit the bonus question. Otherwise, we're just going to do 10 questions, and I'm going to try and like haul ass through this, okay? So, first question. Question number 1 is from Aubrey Ann. What does Aubrey have to ask about? Let's find out. Okay, we've got people clicking in about, messages. We don't need those. Aubrey Ann. Okay. How do you help people understand the cost of training and its importance? I've run into people not wanting to pay, though my prices are quite competitive for my area, but wanting the service. So people that, so she's a trainer who's run into people that want the service, but don't want to pay for it. Fascinating. Okay, right? I think I got that right. Aubrey, here's the deal. And Aubrey's, how does she say it? So basically she's trying to figure out, how do you get around that? So how do you get people to understand the value that you're providing, right? So how do you get people to feel different about the money exchange and the emotional investment exchange for what you're providing? And that's really the trick. So once you get this, you're kind of off to the races. If you don't get this, you're really stuck. It's the value perception proposition, whatever you want to call it. You have to show value. You have to simply show a shit ton of value. You have to, through your website, through the pictures, the videos, the copy, the Facebook videos, the Facebook posts, the tips there, the YouTube videos, the Instagram photographs, everything. You have to show value for someone on the outside to look at what you're doing. They have to see, there's something there that's very worthwhile, right? It's a simple proposition or a simple equation. So if you're a customer and you're, I have a couple notes that we'll jump into. Remind me to keep this quick. But if you're a customer and you go to a website and the website just has like some nice copy and a couple of pictures of dogs, it doesn't really show you the value that's possible or the value you're trying to convey or your value proposition. But if you show some dogs that are in a bad space moving into a good space, and you show your interactions with clients, and you show how you coach your clients, and you show how you motivate your clients, and you show your clients happy, and you show your clients success with their dog afterwards, now you've got a value proposition going on. Now you've got a value conversation going on. Now you've got people who are going to see that and go, wow, I'd like some of that, right? So now we've got perceived value, and then the money becomes something that makes sense to them. Without that perceived value, the money doesn't make sense. So if you're finding people that want the service but don't want to pay, it's simply because they don't perceive enough value going on there, or they're not heavily invested enough in the process because most likely their pain point with their dog isn't that high. And here's where we get into kind of making distinctions about how you want to market, how you want to present your business, who you want to be in the industry. If you're going to do puppies and happy-go-lucky dogs, you have to understand that while it's a safer and easier process in a lot of ways, it's also one that doesn't include the same kind of pain points, emotional kind of spots that a lot of owners with more challenging dogs will be in. So I hope that makes sense. So an owner with a biting dog or a aggressive dog or a majorly reactive dog at super high levels is going to be more motivated to find answers and find help. An owner whose dog does like some silly stuff now and again, like doesn't like plays, keep away in the backyard or something like that, or pulls a little bit on the leash, but nothing bad, you're gonna have a hard time getting them to feel incredibly motivated, right? Because that's just how human beings work. We're not motivated unless there's a pain point high enough to really motivate us. So, or a reward that's so high to motivate us, and that reward would be getting rid of that pain point. But it's probably not going to be there if you're presenting yourself as working with kind of like middle of the road dogs. So something to think about, right? And then of course pricing. If you're pricing yourself exceptionally low, then people's perception of your value becomes exceptionally low. So you factor all these things together and then you have a very different presentation. So your website, your videos, every point of contact for your customers should be telling a story, your story of value, of what you bring to the table, what you can do for their dogs, what you can do for them, what it would be like to work with you. That's really like the big enchilada. You've got to help people understand what the value is, so they feel motivated to pursue you and spend that or exchange that money for that value. So I hope that makes sense. And once again, the more mild dogs are going to be harder to get folks to feel like they want to pay that dough. And then if you get right down to the very, very, very bottom of it, I think you said that you've got people, what'd you say? How do you get people that my prices are quite competitive? So that means that your price point is kind of similar to other people in your area. So then you have to ask yourself, and you should do some research, what the hell are they doing differently than me? Are they more established, better word of mouth, been there longer? Are they showing better value than I am? Is their website look better? Is their social media interactions better? Are they 80 years old and been training dogs since they were 10? I mean, so those are kind of all the things that you need to look at. But if you just think about it from a simple thing, it really comes down to a very basic equation in a human's mind, which is what they're selling worth the exchange of my dollars? And that's your job to prove that that is the case. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so question number 2. George asks, Sean, what is your experience with Rottweilers, GSDs, and more who are serious, both human and dog reactive, in the hands of typical dog owners with the best intentions and hard work? I know every dog has to be taken on its own performance, yet do you find that super reactive, alpha by nature dogs ever come around to the point that the dog can be trusted like a cupcake? In other words, that's my word. In other words, can a red hot chili pepper be used in making a cupcake, or is the client most likely left with a dog that will take serious attention to detail in a whole lot of environments? That's a great question, George. So I think the reality is that most of us know that more serious breed dogs that have been bred for more serious tasks, a lot of the Mastiffs, Rotties, German Shepherds, although a lot of the Shepherds these days are kind of like nervous wrecks, but if you find like a sturdy one, they're definitely more serious. That those more serious dogs are going to be challenging for a lot of regular owners. They might look good to the owner. The owner might like the idea of a dog that's a security dog or protection dog, or keep the family safe kind of dog. But the reality is, if they're trying to live with the dog and walk the dog and incorporate the dog into their life, they may have their hands full. So can a red hot chili pepper be turned into a cupcake? That's an awesome question. And I would say it really depends on, you say kind of the average owner, it really depends on the dynamic of that owner. If that owner's able to step up and assume a position of being firm when it needs to be and be believable in that firmness, and the dog isn't exceptionally challenging, I think they can find a really good spot. Will he be a cupcake? Probably not. If the dog is exceptionally firm and the owner is pretty far under that, they're likely going to struggle tremendously trying to make anything happen, because the respect and the believability just won't be there. So they'll really struggle. Can you make one of those red hot chili peppers into a cupcake? You can't really make a dog into anything. They are who they are. You can cultivate the best and bring out the best and train the best. Sounds like a mayonnaise commercial. Train the best and try and see where you can get them to. And some of these dogs that posture as kind of hard dogs quickly kind of like collapse when any kind of rules come around. They're like, I'm just kidding, and they're very soft. So those would be the exceptions, where they appear to be a red hot chili pepper, but they're really a cupcake in disguise. So I hope that answers your question. I would just advise people to be super cautious about bringing any serious breeds into their home unless they're ready to do serious work and they have a pretty good foundational understanding of dogs and the structure, rules, accountability, leadership, and all the stuff they need to be successful. So hope that helps, buddy. Okay, so question number 3. This is from Amy. And I can't read Amy's question because it's 40 pages long. But basically, she starts off saying, I'm a bit demoralized at the moment. Big question is, how do you know it's time to rehome a dog that wants to eat your other dog? And we've talked before over social media, over Facebook. And so the dog, if I'm not mistaken, the dog bit both me and my husband the first few days, a good 4 deep puncture and multiple superficial wounds. So yeah, it's a rescue / foster dog. And, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and I hate to be kind of like the Grim Reaper with this stuff, but I was going to say, unless you're going to bring a pro in, but even then, like, dogs that have built up a grudge like this are so hard to deal with. I mean, you really need a specialist in there, and even then, you may not be able to get anywhere with that. Sounds like the dog that you brought in has really got some baggage, and so, to me, I would never keep a dog in my home that's bitten multiple members of the family and attacking the other dog. I just, I'd have to, the only way that would happen is if I saw a massive change in the dog, like pretty damn quickly. Like if that was just kind of the tail end or carrying over behavior from, being in the shelter or the rescue or wherever it was. And then the dog came in really stressed and just made some crappy decisions, and then that all quickly faded. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a dog that I would want to have with my pack. I'm not interested in having to worry about like dogs, killing each other or anything like that. So, the notes I have for you is, basically, I think you're facing a nearly impossible situation. The grudge is real. I've written about it many times. Just like humans, dogs develop grudges to where they get to the point where they don't even need anything to trigger them except the presence of the other dog, and then it's just on. And trying to get over that, trying to prevent that, trying to change that, trying to turn that around is one of the most difficult things there are for a trainer to try and achieve, and then for a family to try and continue. So I just want to be a super practical voice of reason here. To be honest, with him having bitten you guys and then having gone after your other dog multiple times and just all the stress that must have created for everybody and the danger and everything, I'd say it's time to look at another home situation. He could flourish in another home. Without that other dog there, he might be less stressed. With a really experienced firm owner, he might behave very differently. So I'd say you've done everything you can, and I wouldn't feel bad about rehoming that dog and sending that dog to a better place, because the reality is you have to look out for yourself and your safety, your husband's safety, and your dog's safety. That's your primary responsibility. So not the best news, not what I want to tell people, but that's where I think you're at. So I hope that helps. Sorry. Okay, gang, so question numero 4 is from Michelle. Michelle wants some advice on her 16-week, 4-month-old, for those who are slow with math, like myself, puppy, 16-week-old puppy when walking on the leash outside. Inside her home, her basic obedience and impulse control using food rewards is good. Sit down, come, place, waiting at thresholds, and to come out of the crate, waiting for food, even the out command. Awesome. Outside on a leash is a completely different ball game, and she does not listen, tries to pull to get to other people despite my best efforts to doing stops and sits and 180s. I don't seem to be making any headway. She tends to walk slightly in front of me with so she's all over the place. Okay, so Michelle, we've talked a million times, right? And if I'm not mistaken, Michelle is in the UK. So I'm guessing Michelle is using something other than a prong collar, because she'd probably feel uncomfortable in that climate over there with a small prong collar on a young dog. So, but to hell with people's opinions and to hell with social pressure and all of that silliness. It's time to stand up and have a walk with your dog. What if I told you that you could put a 2.25, which is a small, if you're shopping for it, 2.25 small Herm Springer prong collar on your puppy. We put them on 4-month-old puppies all the time, 16 weeks for the math folks, and have exceptional, amazing walks in the first session. What if you could have that? What if you could just swap out tools and have that? Watch my walk video. It's called The Walk. Just go to www.thegooddog.net, www.thegooddog.net, and click on our do-it-yourself videos. You'll see a video called The Walk, and it's got a little doggy prong collar on, and you can just emulate that. And like, let's stop struggling. There's no need to struggle with your walk. Put the right tool on so you can communicate nice and subtly with your dog, and you don't need to yank your pup around. Just like all the frustration, let's get rid of that. Let's just have a good time. Let's enjoy our dogs. All this hubbub about prong collars, all this silliness, like it's probably the lightest pressure compared to a slip lead or a martingale or a flat collar, all the things that people think are nice and humane and easy on the dog, kinder, gentler. No way. Dogs, you don't hear dogs choking on prong collars, but you hear dogs choking on slip leads and martingales and flat collars and having tracheal issues and things like that. So you want to do the right thing and forget what everybody else says and just do what's safe for your dog and what will increase the quality of your walks immediately. Get a 2.25 Herm Spring prong collar, fit it appropriately to your dog. You can find my prong collar videos and numerous other folks' prong collar videos. We'll show you how to size it. And go out there and go kick some ass and enjoy your dog and screw social pressure. Put a bandana around your dog if you need to. Carry a walking stick if you need to, beat anybody, back that tries to hassle you or anything like that. But I certainly wouldn't be out struggling with my dog when I know there's options that are legal, that everybody has the opportunity to have and utilize, and it's only if they're too uncomfortable and feel too much pressure to use them. So, prong collar, 2.25, small Herm Springer, get it, make it happen. Go enjoy your walks, enjoy your dog, all right? Okay, question number 5 is with Kim. Kim wants to know, Kim, what do you want to know? I've always wondered this, and I've never really found any information on it. Why do dogs seem to behave better when in a heel rather than loose leash? I walk most of my dogs by my side and they are not allowed to go in front of me. Safety reasons, nothing more. They all seem to behave better when being in this position rather than out in front of me on a loose lead. Lead makes me think that she's also from the UK. Okay, let's dive into this because it's a big reason why we always say have dogs in a structured walk in the heel position, unless you've got a cupcake, not a red hot chili pepper, a cupcake, a true blue cupcake, right? Cupcakes can get away with a lot more than the other dogs can. So why do dogs behave better when they're in heel rather than a loose leash? Well, when they're in heel, they're in a very structured position, getting rules and information and communication about where they need to be. Options like a giant food menu have been taken away. If you think about it, a loose leash is like the world's biggest menu at a restaurant. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could sniff this, I could sniff this, I could go over here, I could pee on this, I could mark that, blah, 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 blah. That's why. So your dog has a million zillion options, and what's your dog gonna do? Why not? Let's go this way, let's go this way. But if I'm in a heel, I'm just trucking next to you because you told me to. These are the rules. Here's where I gotta walk. Oh, there's a bush. I'd love to go sniff it. Yeah, I gotta walk. Loose leash, there's a bush, I'd like to sniff it. There's a dog over on this, lawn over here, somebody holding, trying to give us some distance. All that kind of stuff. So that's the reason. Let's see if I've got any other specialized notes for you. Just basically, they're connected in a structured following mindset. On loose leash, they're disconnected, free to do what they want. They're in a freewheeling decision-making space. So I kind of said two different ways of saying it. One's a little bit like off the cuff, one's a little bit more direct. But I hope that makes sense. It's really about just you leading and you making the decisions versus the dog kind of leading and just making its own decisions. That's really why they behave differently, not just on the walk, but everywhere. Okay, question number 6. This is from Nicole. Nicole wants to know, I love it, short question. Can our dogs have something to chew while they're in down or in place? Well, I hear our dog's running, must be because someone's home. Anyways, so can your dogs have a chew in down or in place? So here's the thing. If you're doing training and you're really trying to work on mindset stuff and you're really trying to get the dog in a calm, chilled out, just like meditative state, then I would say let's go low key on the chews and things like that, or just X them out completely. If your dog's a rock star and doesn't really have any behavior issues, isn't an anxious guy, doesn't struggle with staying on place, is really mild-mannered, and yeah, really, I mean, it's really the behavior that determines the answer to these questions, because there's, my dogs can be on place and have a chew, but they don't have any problems, so I can get away with that. Now, if I've got a dog that's anxious, stressed, worked up, reactive, worried about things going on around them, I don't want them in the space of chewing. I want them to just tune out and just zen out and be chill. And then the other thing is, I want to make sure you're not feeling guilty that your dogs are working and in place and that you have to have something for your dog to do. Dogs don't always have to have something to do. It's really great to condition dogs to be able to turn off. We call it the off switch, just to turn off regardless. Nothing to do. I haven't gone for a big walk, haven't gone for a run. I'm just gonna crash out. It's an awesome thing to have trained for your dog. That doesn't mean you shouldn't walk your dog, shouldn't exercise your dog, and shouldn't give your dogs a chew if it's appropriate. It just means I don't want you guilty. I don't want you guilted into doing something that's not in the best interest of your dog. I'd love for your dog to have both. If you're like, yeah, my dog can place for hours and he's great and he doesn't have any problems with anybody coming to the door and he's not reactive about scanning around who's coming around the window or anything like that. He's just a chilled out, cool customer. Yeah, why not? That's totally fine. If it's a dog that we're trying to literally are focused on relaxing the dog and getting him to go to place and just then I'd say let's hold off until that dog gets into more of that zen state. I hope that makes sense. So question number 7, right? Here we go. This is from Michelle. So Michelle, I'll read it from over here. Something I've been uncertain about, I guess, is just how you correct once your dog is in a stage where she knows her expectations and boundaries. For example, I've been walking my dog in a heel for about 8+ months, and I wonder if I'm right to correct her at a higher level whenever she gets out of position, because she should know the command and position by now. I figured the higher correction gives her more accountability and also gives more of a reminder than a smaller correction that gives her more of a feeling that she could be lax about it. I just wanted to confirm because she's such a good dog now and we hardly have any issues, so when I do go to correct her, naturally I feel bad, but I wanted to make sure I'm approaching it in the right way. Okay, Michelle, that's a great question. And here's the deal. You have done an awesome job. You have trained your dog for 8 months how to do the command, what the expectations are, what the rules of the road are. This is what the walk looks like. Here's the position. Here's what I want from you. It's accountability time, right? This isn't guilt time. This isn't feel bad time. This is actually make your dog better time. So I want you to look at it in a different way than I'm feeling crappy about it. I'm feeling guilty. My dog's doing so well. And then here I am correcting my dog. Get out of that headspace and get in the headspace of like, this is how we get a dog to a great space. My dog has been very patiently, very considerately trained to walk in a heel like this, and yet still my dog is choosing at certain opportunities or moments to break that, move forward, move a little bit back, and then you're nagging your dog. And nagging just teaches your dog to ignore you. It teaches your dog that the command really isn't something important to listen to, and it will really slowly undermine the value of that command and start to erode what you've created and what's important to you. So by all means, let's go higher, let's get rid of the guilt, and let's hold your dog accountable, because you've done awesome foundation work about expectations and the rules. So you're good to go. It's time to say, here's where it is. And honestly, it's the kindest, best thing you can do for your dog, even though it might sting a little bit, because I'm sure your dog's doing great. But let's get your dog really great. And it's not about just like, let's punish the dog now. It's like, hey, this is about like how you move through life and do things right, so you can enjoy your dog more, take your dog more places, have your dog more dependable. It's good all the way around. So I hope that helps. Go higher, correct, don't nag, don't undermine the command, make it solid, make it count. All right? Question number 8. This is, I don't know if it's Janet or Jeanette, or let's go with Janet because I think it sounds a little bit more exotic, all right? Okay, so Jeanette has a 3.5 or 3.5-year-old German Shepherd. And basically she's struggling. She's got a really long question, so I can't read the whole thing. But basically she's struggling with the dog releasing balls, toys, if there anything else. Doesn't drop or release when she has an object. So regardless of what it is, toys, food, object, whatever, your shoe, the newspaper, doesn't matter. So she's got the dog on e-collar, and if I'm not mistaken, let me see what she says. We've treats do not work. The only progress we ever made was by using an e-collar, but even that doesn't work every time. We need her to let go of things because she can't always bring things in the house, like branches that are bigger than her, or the toys she dragged through the mud. Right? That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. We do need a drop command. So you can use drop or out, whichever word. It sounds like you want to use drop, so that's totally cool. So here's the deal. I've never, ever seen a dog on a properly fitted e-collar that's a quality e-collar not out a ball, toy, object, muddy tree branch, slipper, etc. Never. So a couple things might be happening. You're going too low, which is what most people do. They're afraid to go higher and get the dog to release it. So the drive of holding on to it overrides the correction. And correction may even get higher than what you're used to doing, but the drive of holding on to that object is overriding the correction. So you may be correcting too low, which is probably my guess. Other thing would be you're not getting great contact or don't have a great fit with the e-collar. So if you're correcting higher, you're actually what your dog is perceiving is a considerably lower correction than what you're seeing on your dial, right? So you might think, hey, I'm correcting at 45 and this is like life-changing for my dog, except with poor connection, especially with a shepherd, it might feel like a 15. And so then you would be like, hey, it doesn't always work with the e-collar. Let me tell you, if the e-collar is good and the fit's good and the levels are right, it's consistent. There's no like, it sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't. It always works. So the only reasons it wouldn't work are the ones I just gave you. Poor e-collar, poor fit, too low of levels. So let's sort through all of those. Let's make sure you've got a quality. If you've got some kind of pet safe crappy e-collar, If this is important to you and keeping muddy branches out of your house should be important, I would make sure that I've got like a mini educator from e-collar Technologies. You can get them off Amazon for like 170 bucks. And I would use that. I would use the longer contact points that come in it, swap out the small ones for the longer ones that come in the box. I would fit it exceptionally snug. You should just be able to get a couple fingers underneath that. I would nestle it in the fur to make sure that it gets, I mean, these are incredibly important moments or points that are so easy to miss, and then you've got a dog that's not getting any good, or not getting good contact, right? So I was just thinking about ice cream. That, you see me get a little bit like lost right there? I was literally thinking about ice cream. Sorry, I digressed. Ice cream digressed, but I'm back. Okay, so that was an amazing little I was fighting it, and I was like, I'll just be honest with them. I'm thinking about ice cream. So that's really what it comes down to. So we need to get this contact right. We need to make sure that we've got the longer fur contact points, especially with the shepherd. We need to make sure it's snug, especially with the shepherd. And then once we put it on, you don't just put the collar on, cinch it up, and then you're good to go, because all this fur just got matted down. What you're trying to do with the e-collar, it's got 2 contact points, and here's the fur. That's gonna be a bad example. You're trying to like nestle, nestle, nestle. So you'll wiggle the box, pull the fur up, wiggle the box, pull the fur down, wiggle the box, pull the fur up, and you're basically just trying to get it in until then you got that. Now we've got good solid contact. So if you get that firm fit, right contact points, and a good e-collar, and then say drop and tap the button, don't press and hold, just tap the button at a level high enough that your dog cares about, and say drop simultaneously, that ball or that object or that tree branch will come flying out when you hit the right level. I promise you. This is not rocket science. This is simple, easy stuff that we do with dogs all the time. So give it a shot and let me know how it works. Okay? Thanks. Guys, I don't want to get like cocky about this, but we're kind of flying through the show. I'm feeling pretty good. Like I've got some 3-minute answers, some 2-minute answers, a couple of longer ones, but like for my style of usually getting pretty long in the tooth, yes, we know what that means. That it doesn't mean lengthy. I feel like I'm doing pretty good. So let's not blab. Let's just boogie on down. So we've got Dawn here. Let's see if we can find Dawn's question, because it was a good question. Okay, so Dawn says, my very large dog fence fights with the neighbor's dog through a 6-foot wooden fence and often jumps up and puts its paws on top of the fence. Is there a particular technique to correct this with an e-collar? I really want him to disregard the neighbor's dog entirely, but I'm not sure if that's realistic. It is realistic, and no fence fighting is realistic, and everything that you're asking about is realistic. So it's all good news. The real question, once again, just like Jeanette's question, is making sure you've got a great e-collar going on, making sure you're not, I don't think he says what kind of dog, it just says a very large dog. A very large dog. Make sure you've got a good e-collar, a solid e-collar. Please, guys, I can't say enough that if you're getting e-collars off of Amazon for 20, 30, 40 bucks, you know, any kind of like these off brands, anything like that, they don't have the control, and they don't have the reliability and the dependability that you need. I'm not trying to sell you e-collars. Go on Amazon. I'm not making any money off of it. I'm just telling you where to go and what to do as far as getting a good collar. There's really only 2 manufacturers I recommend, and it's e-collar Technologies and it's Dogtra, and that's it. They're the only 2 that make really highly adjustable, solid, dependable collars. So that little PSA. So let's fix this, Don. Once again, make sure that your collars fit snug, good contact, snuggle, as we say. Do we say snuggle? Nest. Now, I can't remember. I've said it a million times and now I can't remember. Let's just go with snuggle. Snuggle it in. and make sure that the contact points are making contact with your dog. If you've got a thick furred dog, then make sure you go to the longer contact points that you'll need, just like I recommended to Jeanette. Make sure that that e-collar is nice and snug. You should not be able to move the box. And when you have the box, I'll be the dog, the skin should go like this if you move the box, the receiver on the e-collar. If you can go like this, it's too loose. Does that make sense? It's a great way to get bad contact, to miscorrect your dog, and to actually cause irritation to your dog's neck, which most people find ironic because they think if it's too snug, that will do it. That can do it as well, but so can being too loose. The downside with too loose is that you can absolutely miscorrect your dog because your dog is not getting good contact, and so you're correcting higher and higher, and then your dog turns a certain way and bam. Hopefully that makes sense. So Dawn. Now that we've got the collar all set up, it's a pretty straightforward approach. You stand by, and like my post that I put up today, which is probably going to be about 4 days old by the time this comes out, which is basically set up your dog. And the post is called Set Your Dog Up for Failure, or Setting Dogs Up for Failure. And it's basically about the value of setting things up so you're ready, rather than just reacting and trying to get yourself into a space where you're able to deal with the situation in a timely fashion. That's the worst way to go. Set your dog up. Make sure the collar's on. Make sure you've got the remote. Make sure you know the dog next door is out there. And then let your dog go. Let him run on out. As soon as your dog gets close and commits to doing the heinous act, dial up. And I would most likely dial up extremely high, and I'd press and hold for about 2 or 3 seconds. Your dog will probably go "Arr!" and back away from the fence, and then see what your dog does. Give your dog some time. Don't call it away. Don't try and redirect your dog onto anything. Just let that be a moment where you just said, that thing you're doing, I don't want any more of that. You don't need to be by that fence, and I don't want that behavior with that dog. See where it goes. A couple seconds pass. Your dog shakes it off. Dog's barking at him again. He's looking out of the corner of his eye. I'm going back in. Goes back in. Boom, correction again. I would go higher and then press and hold for 2 to 3 seconds. Your dog should hopefully go, whoop, I'm out of here. And typically it only takes a couple of those corrections. Just rinse and repeat. But like I said, it's only 2-3 times where a dog is like, I don't want anything to do with that. And the only way that you would get this behavior to continue on and just repeat itself is like a few questions ago, if you're just undermining or underwhelming the dog, if you're just correcting too low, just enough to make the dog stop for the moment, but not create a future inhibition of, I don't want to do that anymore. If you guys get it, that's the game. The game of how do you stop behaviors without having to manage them and be present constantly, and constantly tell your dog, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. How do you get your dog to do their best work? You create a future inhibition by sharing a consequence or attaching a consequence to a behavior you don't approve of, and you do it with a consequence that's valuable enough, not some niggling little small consequence that you think, oh, I think that was bad. Your dog will tell you by not doing the behavior again. Right? That's how you get there. So you want to knock this one out of the park. You're done with fence fighting and all the silliness and stress that goes with it. Awesome. Knock it out of the park. Make sure you've got a good e-collar. Make sure it's fit really well. And make sure you're all set up. Let your dog go out. Correct high. Press and hold for a couple seconds. Give your dog a chance to make a decision. See what he does with it. Correct again if he goes back. If he does go back, go higher. That's it. I bet you're done with this in a couple days and your dog doesn't fence fight anymore. It's really that simple. But if he keeps going back, you're too low on the collar. Inside tip. Wow, we got some great questions, some different kind of questions this time. So it's pretty cool to be able to jump in and give you guys some good information that I hope is useful over a wide range of behaviors that you guys can really tackle. And I think we're going to get through all 11, the bonus questions as well. This one's from Brianna. Let's see if we can dial up Brianna. I need some music in the background to kind of keep you guys company here. Don't tell me I lost Brianna. Oh, there's Brianna. Okay, thought I lost her. Okay, Brianna's training her dog with prong collar and e-collar, which has been great. I've noticed such a difference. One thing I'm struggling with, though, is even though she's healing pretty well, she is constantly sniffing the ground, which makes her not pay attention and literally walk into my path, so I'm always correcting her back to the left side instead of in front of me. I've tried doing a quick snap on the prong when she's sniffing or a tap with the e-collar, but it doesn't seem to be working. Here, everybody listen to this. I don't mind that she sniffs as long as she isn't pulling, but always tripping me up isn't working. Any suggestions? So to me, Brianna, you kind of tipped your hand at the end. Basically, you said you don't mind if your dog sniffs as long as she doesn't trip you up and doesn't pull. So basically, you've set up within your heel, you've set up a subset, if that's the right word or right phrase or right term. You set up a subset of rules, right? First you said, here's heel, this is what it looks like. Now you said, here's heel, and you can sniff as long as you don't pull and walk into me. That's not heel. That's allowing heel to be deteriorated into something else. Now you're training heel to be walk here, sniff, then slowly fall apart and do whatever the hell you want. That's what you're really training, and I know that's not your intention at all. Your intention is to have a dog that walks nicely with you and that you can enjoy and all the stuff that everybody wants. But my guess is, and this is a theme, me and Jeff were talking about this when we were in the UK, because so much of the stuff sounded like we were talking about corrections and punishment, and Jeff was like, we don't just punish dogs. He was laughing about it, but we don't just punish dogs. It's just that it's the one thing people struggle with the most. It's the one thing trainers don't talk about the most. It's the one thing that people don't hear the most. It's the one thing people are most concerned about the most. So that's why you hear so much talk, and there's even within this, just this one Q&A, so much talk about correction and levels being significant, because contrary to what most people say as far as like anti-e-collar or prong collar people who are saying they're going to be abused and hurt dogs, what we see over and over and over again are clients that are underwhelming their dogs, that are going too soft, that are nagging, that are afraid to go any higher because they don't want to hurt their dogs. So, which I totally get, but I'm here to give you permission as a dog trainer who's seen what works and what doesn't work, give you permission to do the right thing so you can achieve your goals, right? So my guess is you've trained this subset of heel, which is not what you want, and your dog is walking into you, and then you're like correcting and like kind of pulling her out. But by then she's already kind of disconnected from you and all that. I would love for you to create clarity and simplicity for yourself and for your dog, so your dog doesn't have any weird confusion about what does heel mean, because that's what's happening. Your dog's like, for one, heel doesn't mean the same thing anymore, and for two, your dog is just now able to just kind of do what it wants. So now it's learning it doesn't even really need to listen to you. Now you're becoming kind of just someone who holds the leash, kind of a non-entity, someone that she'll listen to occasionally, someone that, it's like a parent that, you can push around. Every once in a while they'll blow their top, but typically you can push them. And I think that's what you're getting here. And that might be a slight exaggeration, but it's in the ballpark. So let's make it simple. Heel is heel. Heel is not pulling, heel is not dragging, heel's not walking into us, heel's not walking to the side of us, heel's not sniffing, heel's not like going towards bushes, sniffing the ground, heel's not marking. It's none of that. It's walking next to you. Now, when you release the dog can do all of those things. Can't pull on the leash, but the dog can sniff, the dog can pee, the dog can kind of mosey around, have some free time. That's totally fine. But when you're healing, make it clear, make it simple, make it easy for both of you. Heel is heel. Now, when your dog starts to sniff, let's just go to e-collar. It'll be more effective than prong most likely, even though the prong pulls the dog's head up, and I think that's probably why you're using it more. At least that's my intuition, is that you're using it more. Is that I'd go for e-collar and I would just say no. So typically we just use two commands when we're doing e-collar heel, or a structured walk with e-collar, and it's heel for position. if they move forward, if they move backwards, if they move to the side, and it's no for looking, anything like that, trying to grab something off the ground, trying to sniff, trying to move their head, anything that's where the dog's still like in position, but making a wrong choice, right? So keep it simple. Heel if the dog moves, no if the dog does anything with its head that it shouldn't be doing, and find a level your dog cares about. Just don't be afraid. You're not going to hurt your dog. Your dog's doing great. Your dog's probably doing great because of all the great work you're doing. But here's what happens. This is a challenging one for a lot of folks to get, but what happens is like two commands that are typically the hardest ones that need the highest level of consequence, correction, pressure, whatever you want to call it, are heel, right? The walk, and recall. Why? Because they have the most challenge and intensity and appetizing stuff built into them. So recall means your dog is like out and has all the stuff it wants to do and chase and run, and like it's disconnected from you. It's like at a distance. So it's like, yeah. And heel or walk is like, I want to go. So rather than a sit or a down or a place or anything, or even like recalling inside your house where it's quiet, once you get to the outside world, recall and heel typically require more pressure, higher levels than any other commands. So I hope that makes sense. So I really want to encourage you not to blast your dog, but I want you to like start experimenting with higher levels. I don't mean 1 or 2 or 3 higher. I mean, let's move up. Let's make it significant. My own wording, I couldn't find it. Let's make it significant. And how will you know it's significant? Piece of cake. Your dog will stop sniffing. Piece of cake. You'll say no, and your dog will go, got it, I'm cool. But if you say no, and your dog goes right back, you know that level didn't matter. Make sense? Super easy. Just watch your dog. Your dog will tell you exactly what levels you need to use for any command in any context. All of us get caught up on the numbers. Blindfold yourself. Don't look at the numbers. Just watch your dog. Your dog will tell you exactly what you need. That's the beauty of it. That's how it works. If when I'm working with a dog, I don't ever look at the e-collar until I'm done. Somebody's like, what level are you on? I'm like, oh, 12 or 34. Or I mean, I know what level I start at, but from there I'm moving around and I'm just watching the dog. And it takes a while to get to that point where you don't need to look at all. But once again, I don't want to let this drag on too long, but I think the answer for you is a very simple one, and you've already got the great tools on your dog. Let's just bring the levels up a little higher to where your dog takes you serious. I added a little extra juice in there as far as information to make this whole kind of question more valuable for other listeners. But for you, it's just a simple correction at a higher level with a no on the e-collar. I think you'll be good, okay? Gang, I can't believe we made it, and it feels like we made it in like not terribly long time. I'm pretty impressed. So let's do the bonus question. The bonus question is with Jen. Let's see if we can find Jen. Jen, are you here? All right, Jen Kingston. She says, wow, you have a ton of questions to answer, Sean. Yes, I do. My question is business related. I started out as a dog walker 10 years ago, but I want to progress to doing only private training and board and train programs. Since this is the road you took, can you give me any insights on the best way to achieve my goals as I deal with dog walking responsibilities while juggling my increasing list of training clientele? I have 2 family members who help with the walking part of my business, but I also need to be able to let go and make the step into full-time training. That is an awesome question and speaks to my heart, Jen. So, yes, I started as a dog walker. And, you know, your situation, I'm sure, is a little bit different. You've got some people helping you out. Initially, it was just me. And then, well, actually, eventually down the line, then there was help. Then Laura was walking dogs, and Sean, too, was helping a little bit with walking dogs. But how'd I do it? Organically. Just honestly, like, my best answer is just be organic about it. I walked dogs, I don't know how many years. I walked dogs for multiple years, and then training sessions started to kind of, like you, filter in, one-on-ones, board and trains, but they were just trickling in. They weren't enough to substantiate, my lifestyle and to make sure that everything was taken care of and I was all set. So I let it be very organic. And what I did was I just did the dog walking, but I didn't do, how can I put this? I had a couple days a week that were really heavy, and then I had about 4 days a week that were medium to slightly heavy. But it left me time at night and it left me time in the morning. Now I could go back and check on the dogs in the middle of the day and potty them and things like that. But during the walking, during my dog walking times, I would go out and I would take the dogs that were training with me, and I would walk them and do whatever I had to do early in the morning, get them set, then go visit them at lunch, do the thing, and then I would typically train them at night and do that work then. So I just did it really organically, and that's kind of been our whole approach here, is just walk dogs until it gets so busy with training, until you go, man, I can't handle this anymore, it's too much. And then you find your answer with however you're going to work the dog walking business. For us, we just let it go. For us, we held on to it for a little bit of time, and then finally I gave it to Sean Savitsky, Sean too, with Alpha Walk here in LA, and he walks all of our client dogs, some of the guys that have been walking with us for years and years and years. So like you said, we let go and we jumped into training completely full-time, 100%, and stopped walking altogether, which was really great because I really enjoyed dog walking, but after several years, it was definitely time to move on to something else, something more challenging, something for us that was more rewarding. And but the trick is not to move too fast, not to jump into training until you've got a really consistent thing, because it can feel good for a couple weeks or a couple months, and then boom, it gets quiet, and you're like, boy, I wish I had some dogs to walk. So be super careful about it, how you make that transition. Like I said, being organic about it and letting the training clients determine when you're going to move. And what I mean by that is that when it gets so busy that you can't fit walking in anymore, it's time to change. It's time to jump ship and hand it off to somebody else, whether it's your family members, or whether you sell the business, or whether you have somebody else take over for you and do a percentage deal or something. There's a lot of options. For us, we just found out it was too much of a headache. We could have continued to try and make a percentage off it. It's just too much of a headache. We just let it go and just jump full time into training. So be organic, be smart, don't move too fast. And if you are just tuned in to what's going on and you're not getting ahead of yourself with this is really exciting and I'm training dogs and I'm not going to do dog walking anymore, if you don't get caught up in that, and instead you get caught up in things are good, but we still need some more time. We need clients booked out several months in advance. Then you're pretty solid. So hopefully that answers it. I'm a very practical, safe guy when it comes to business and making sure there's a safety net and that we're taken care of. And jumping out of something too early has never appealed to me. Although for some folks, that's their way to go. But for us, that wasn't the way. So I hope that helps. I wish you the best of luck in your transition from walking to training. And I think that is the end of this marathon show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for being patient. I know it's been a long time since I've talked with you guys. Just been crazy busy, and I think next week we're gonna have a special episode. So keep your eyes peeled. This is a special episode because it's twice the bang for your buck. But I think next week we're gonna have a really special episode. So stay tuned for that, or keep your eyes peeled for that, I should say. And we'll scope that out and check it out and see what comes down the pike. Fingers crossed that it actually happens next week. And that's about it. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you all so much. Thanks for watching. And for those of you who listen to this on the podcast, Thanks so much for checking out the podcast. I know we've forgotten about you at certain times, and so we're trying to really stay on top of it and stay up to date on getting all these transferred over to podcasts as soon as possible so you can enjoy them. So big shout out to the podcast peeps. Everybody else, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. All right? See you guys. Bye.